A lot of times I'm driving, there's nothing to do, and I shuffle through the radio before I unglue. There's a lot of red on ways, it's traffic, I'm screwed, and I'm wired a bit different than a regular dude. It's not a bad thing, I embrace it, it's true. The radio don't stimulate brain chemistry fluid. The Buddha found nirvana and the Four Noble Truths. Through a meditative process, right action he proved. For me, I require the use of a tool, a detector, pin, pointer, shovel, and beach scoop. I'm meant to work the dirt with my history crew, but everywhere I look, my interest taboo. Most people choose Bieber over Tippecanoe. What does a detectorist listen to when the radio is full of bad music and news? I need an alternative for me to peruse. Beyond Sight and Sound gets fantastic reviews. A metal detecting show where my thought bubble brews. Thank you, Josh Kimmel, for inviting me to a detecting dork out with guests like yours truly.
Hey, boys and girls. We are going to talk about S&W shooters and prospectors. What is S&W Shooters and Prospectors?
We at S&W Shooters and Prospectors help people find treasure.
Did you say treasure?
Yes, treasure. Just listen to this amazing review from our happy customer, Jackie Sparrow.
Chocolate ship-shape and a pleasure to deal with. I was able to buy everything that I needed at prices that were shillings less than others. I found my 9 pieces of 8 in no time. Savvy?
I know you're asking yourself, why should I shop at S&W Shooter and Prospectors?
Chuck Smalley has over 45 years of metal detecting experience. He works with each customer one-on-one to customize their setup to match their skill level.
So if you always dreamt of being a pirate, contact Chuck at S&W Shooters and Prospectors and he'll take a great deal for you.
Eye patch and rum not included.
Caution. Please do not operate motor vehicles or power equipment while under the influence of this show. Listening to this show could cause side effects such as bouts of laughter, violent binges of cabin fever, and even dreams of silver and gold. Please be advised. Now that the fine print is out of the way, on with the show.
All right, the fine print's out of the way. It's time to roll with the show. We're back. We're live once again. You are listening to Beyond Sight and Sound, metal detecting and treasure hunting radio for all the really cool digging people out there. And I see they're just dropping into the chat left and right. I don't even know who all's dropped in. I was a little preoccupied taking care of some other things here real quick. Apologies, we're fashionably late, I guess you could say. Time kind of gets away from you when you're having a blast talking about finds and everything else going on in the hobby, the industry, and technology in general. Because ultimately, in the end, with the machines that are coming out, we all win in the field, and that's the nice thing about the competitive edge that we see with the manufacturers, especially in the last few years. It's been a lot of fun for sure to see what's been going on there on that front. Definitely. So I see they're all coming in. We'll get right to it and get Andy in here as well. How is it going tonight, sir?
Doing well there, Josh.
Nice. Good to hear. And it wasn't all that long ago, actually. You've kind of relocated, I believe, from Michigan to Mississippi?
Yeah, this was right before the lockdown. I changed jobs and moved down to Mississippi, was working in my new company for 10 days and went to lockdown or telework. So it's been an interesting 2020, I think, for everybody.
Well,
so hopefully next year is one for the record books, and we can put 2020 behind us. It's definitely been one most of us want to forget.
Oh, yeah, I would have to agree, definitely. Nicer climate for you down there?
Yeah, I think it's cooling off. It's down to 50 degrees right now, and it's supposed to be 70 degrees this weekend. So we're not going to see the snow. We're not dealing with the weather the Northeast is dealing with. So we can hunt year-round, which is nice.
Yeah, definitely. Maybe a little, well, you kind of get around anyway, but a little bit of a different testing ground for the machines and all of that too, hopefully.
Yeah, I mean, we're an hour and a half, 2 hours from the salt water down on the Gulf. We're, an hour or two north, we're in some pretty bad ground. Around here, around the Jackson, Mississippi area, it's pretty benign. But
Right.
Get over toward Vicksburg, toward the river, you're starting to get some pretty tough ground over there as well. So there's a lot of areas you can hit, and don't have to go too far to change conditions. So a lot of good test areas.
Yeah, it sounds like you're in a pretty good spot then to really run these newer machines through their paces.
Yep.
Good deal. Definitely. And your latest book, obviously, is for the Nokta Makro Simplex, which arguably, debatably, has been one of the hottest talked about machines, especially through last year as it was being released, and then that continued this year. Very nice form factor, lightweight, rechargeable. And I've said, even when I heard they were coming out with a machine that was supposed to be in this price point with all of these features, no manufacturer up to that point had been able to touch those features in that price point to date. And they really had a hit on their hands. It's a very, very popular machine, so I imagine the books are selling very well.
Yeah, we've gotten really good feedback over it as well. Again, it follows, along the lines of some of my previous books, where it makes sure you cover the machine A to Z in terms that anybody can understand, and that's what makes it a useful tool. If you understand the features and functions, you can make it do whatever you want it to do in your area. Little bit of history, though. When I first saw the prototype of the Simplex, it was in 2018. They came over here to the U.S. and they had a prototype that wasn't even working yet. It was simply a mock-up of what it was going to look like. And they were talking about the features, and several of us that were there were sitting there shaking our head going, wow, and you're going to sell it for how much? Originally, it was going to be $399 or $499, $399 and $499, so $400 and $500. And we still thought that was a heck of a bargain at $399 and $499.
Absolutely.
So that, fast forward to September of last year, of 2019, and that's when they unveiled it officially at Detective all over in England. And, my wife and I were talking to Relic and her crew the night before they made the unveiling, and she showed us the machine and said, and we changed the price. I'm like, all right, well, here it comes. It's going to be $699 and $799.
Right, $600-$700.
And then she says it's going to be $299 and $399, and we just about fell out of our chair.
Yeah, because it's unheard of.
Yeah.
And to think, I mean, what, 10 plus years ago, you couldn't touch a waterproof machine for anything less than $1,000.
No, I mean, and that's 10 years ago. So you're talking money 10 years ago. $1,000 then is $1,500 or more now. And, but I think, honestly, Garrett has always been an industry leader. So, pinpointers, for example, I never used a pinpointer. I mean, and pinpointers have been around for 30 years. Mm-hmm. They were either bulky, they didn't work well, they were complicated. You had to turn it on and tune it each time. And when Garrett came up with their Pro Pointer, the original black one, they sent me one, and I said, all right, I'll try it, but I'm not going to use it because I don't use a pinpointer. I got to the point pretty quick that if I didn't have it with me, I'd turn around and drive home to get it. So,
they really spoiled us.
But Garrett figured out the form, the function, how it worked, and everybody else copied that design. right? Because if you look at the designs of some of the earlier machines or the earlier pinpointers, they were all over the board. Now
they were
more or less look like a Garrett Pro pointer, and they were the first ones on the block.
Yep.
Waterproof machine. So the Garrett AT Pro was the first low-priced or affordable waterproof machine. Because Garrett realized that water hunters, there were a hell of a lot more water hunter waders than there were divers. So to come up with an X-Cal or Fisher 1280 or a CZ or a Garrett Sea Hunter that was waterproof to 200 feet, most people would never use that.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a lot of people that want to go into the water neck deep. So they came up with a machine that was ruggedly built and could go down to 10 feet.
Exactly. And put it in a very cost-effective price point. So we see where when they came out with that cut the price of a waterproof machine in half. And then Nokta Makro comes out with the Simplex and just slashes it in half again.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. So, Garrett came up with the AT, and people started to realize, hey, if I get caught out in the rain a mile from the car, I don't want to ruin my machine. So even though it wasn't a dive machine per se, it was waterproof enough that people could take it out, hose it off when they got home. And the expectation is now, if you get a machine, it's got to be waterproof.
Absolutely. I've said for some time on the show now that it's not that big of a deal why manufacturers shouldn't be offering waterproof machines as a stock feature. I don't even think why even bother with the weather-resistant machines when companies are able to put out these ones that are waterproof and submersible to at least a few feet, and it's really not that big of a difference in the price point.
Well, I mean, look at Nokta with the Midi Horde and the Mini Horde, the kids' machines that they just came out with. So first of all, you've got a real machine for $100 instead of a toy or something you buy at Harbor Freight. Or Cabela's. So you've got a machine that actually works. It's designed for, 3, 4, 5, 6-year-olds and then 6 to 10-year-olds. So you've got a machine that's designed for their body style, but it's waterproof. It's waterproof to 3 feet. So even at a $99 price point, Nokta came up with a machine that's waterproof, not rain resistant, but waterproof. You can take it to the beach, drop it in the water, and you're not going to ruin it.
And we're talking a metal detector that's in that same price range as a pinpointer. And the Mini and Midi Hordes have been an absolute smash this year. Dealers can't even keep them on the shelf. And they're actually, for no more than what they cost, no bigger than they are, they're pretty ruggedly built.
Yeah, I mean, we've given the grandkids each got one for Christmas, and they love it. I mean, they love the interface. It's simple to use. They know when to dig and when not to dig. You take them to a tot lot, and they have they have a ball. And there's been some people that have actually found some decent targets that are not in tot lots. I know that we gave one away at a hunt in Virginia that the guy that won it took his granddaughter out and found a seated dime with it. So
that was phenomenal.
Yeah.
That was a killer find that, anybody would be proud to have. And here's a kid with this little kid's machine and basically the first time out, first target or the first day out with it, they hit a seated dime. And that's something where I've seen some people, they've been in the hobby for 10, 15, 20 years and never found one.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's crazy.
You've heard D-Lake. I'm sure D-Lake's been on the show, but I mean, D-Lake's always said that the only thing entry level about the machine is the price.
Yeah. Yeah,
right?
basically.
So, you've got a machine that's waterproof. You've got a machine that's got backlit, touch pads. It's wireless. And it's got rechargeable batteries. I mean, it's got all the features you want, and you're under $300 for the base machine.
Yeah. And that's even what I said when it was coming out. We had Delec on the show to discuss it, and I was telling her, I said it's just unheard of to hear when you hear these features, and then you hear what the price point is. You're almost in disbelief. You're like, did I hear you right? And then when you get the machine, you find out that there's nothing cheap about that machine, and it will perform and hold its ground with machines that are probably twice its price point.
Yeah, it's amazing. I know some companies have sworn off, VLF single frequency is not the way to go anymore. But whatever Nokta's engineers have done have shown that there is more. You can still squeeze more performance out of single frequency machines.
Yeah, absolutely. I would have to agree. I'm a big multi-frequency machine user to begin with, like the Equinox, Excalibur, machine CTX. But when I got a hold of the Simplex, it's like, well, let's give this thing a shot, because you got to give it a fair shake. And I was very impressed for a single frequency machine in that price point, and it's got good, a fair amount of depth, even out of the box with the stock settings. Yeah. And then, you get some time in with it, familiarize yourself with it, what that machine is telling you, and start to try to tweak it and everything, and you get some more performance out of it. Then your book comes along, and now people are able to unleash it, basically, and really maximize its potential, as long as they take the time to sit down and actually read the book.
And again, that was the purpose of putting it together. There's a lot of good input, both from, my experience using it, because I had one of the first 3 prototypes that they had over there at DetectEES. I mean, they didn't want to give it to me, but I finally twisted their arm enough to take one home with me from DetectEES. So
now, was at that point at DetectEES, was that a fully functional prototype, or was it still missing some features?
It was fully functional, but it was not upgradable. So
okay.
The issue with the search coil manifested itself with the test unit, and when they sent me a new coil, it wouldn't work with the existing platform. So that machine is gone back to them because it was they couldn't update it. So whatever was burned into that initial batch of machines, I think there was the 3 that they had, they gave me 1, and I think they had 5 others. Those machines were not upgradable. So we swapped it out, and, I've got one of the original ones that I've updated, 4 times now?
Yeah, so. I believe so. That's another nice thing about Nokta Makro as a company in general. They've really made a name for themselves over the last few years. They really are listening to the feedback that comes in about the machines, and they're trying to address issues and really just make a good all-around performing unit. And I was really surprised with how quick they were coming up with updates for the Simplex and how fast they were releasing these updates. Because when I got a hold of the machine, I'm going, okay, it's probably going to be a while before there is an update, if there is an update. And then, in the matter of a year or 6 months, maybe, you saw 3 updates.
Right. Now, one of the things I think, we've talked with Relic about, because, there comes a point where you got to stop updating your entry-level machine and making it compare with your flagship machine. So, stop updating it. The machine works. It's got all the features. You've added the mute function. You've added another search mode. You've added additional sensitivity. If you want to add more, call it a Simplex Pro or call it something different, but that needs to be your $499 price point.
Right.
They are working on a multi-frequency, which is going to be interesting because it's going to be a true simultaneous multi-frequency, waterproof, wireless, rechargeable. It's going to be interesting to see how that packages out on
Absolutely.
The same shaft design as the Simplex.
I'm really looking forward to hearing more as that development progresses with them, because I know they're pushing pretty hard at it. They're really chomping at the bit, and hopefully we'll hear more about it soon. Hopefully.
Well, I think, if you look at Garrett with the Apex, I mean, the simultaneous multi-frequency, MindLab had the lock on the market since, 1999, 2000 when the Explorer came out.
Right.
And, FBS. So, the CTX came out, then the Equinox came out, then the Vanquish simply took the same technology, stripped it down a little bit and put it in a new machine. But they owned that market, that simultaneous multi-frequency market. So Garrett came up with the Apex. So obviously they've been able to figure out a way to get to the same endpoint. And I think that's what you're seeing with Nokta. Their engineers are coming up with a way to how do we get true simultaneous multi-frequency, not selectable like the Amphibio or the Deus, but true multi-frequency that's running at the same time, but can operate single frequency.
Right. Exactly. And I think that's, once again, I mean, with what we've seen from their past few releases, you could say, of machines, Nokta Makro has really stepped up to the plate. Garrett has stepped up to the plate. And the other manufacturers, they're going to have to remain competitive or they're going to fall behind fast.
Well, I mean, you hate to see him go by the wayside. I mean, Tesoro, I've got some of the original Tesoros. I knew Jack Gifford personally. Hated to see them go. White's Electronics shocked me because 20 years ago, they had 80% of the market. I mean, everybody had a White's machine if you wanted to find anything.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, at some point in time, and many of us that have been in the hobby for a while, somewhere along the line, you operated at least one White's machine, if not multiple ones. And I got to say, I was the same way. I was really shocked to hear that they were closing their doors.
Well, I mean, Will Rogers, the old saying from Will Rogers is even if you're on the right track, you'll get run over if you're not moving forward. So if you're not coming up with new products, there are people that are brand loyal to the point that it doesn't matter what they put out, they'll buy it. But I think most of the people, particularly thanks to social media and shows like yours, they use machines that work. And if it means changing brands, it means changing brands. I've never been brand loyal to the point I won't use or won't look at anybody else's products. If there's something better out there, I migrate to that direction. I want to find things. I'm not sitting there with a brand loyal hat, jacket, t-shirt, and detector. I mean, it's got to work for me. And if it doesn't work or doesn't click for me, and there's been machines that are good machines, they just never clicked with me. So I use what works.
Yeah. And that's kind of the way I come at it too. I mean, I have machines that I prefer, but that doesn't mean that that's the only machine that I'll use. And I'm more than happy to tell people, hey, if there's something else out there that works better, show me. I want to see it. I want to take it out, put it through its paces, and if it will produce, then I'm going to use it.
But the key is if it produces for what you want to use it for. And that's what gets me. When you see people post on Facebook groups, what's the best machine to buy? And that's the extent of the question.
I hate it when I see that question because everybody's going to give their opinion.
Where do you live? What do you want to use it for? Is it something I want to use when I go to the beach with my family twice a year?
What's your budget?
Seriously interested in hunting deep targets or prospecting or, the list is endless. And then you throw in the price budget and then you throw in comfort and convenience. And then people answer the question.
Or ease of use.
My wife runs Treasure Hunting Outfitters, and when she gets people that call or come by and I want a machine. For what? She'll spend 15, 20 minutes making sure that she understands what they want to use it for before she starts recommending machines, rather than just saying, here's a machine.
Oh, absolutely, because you can't just automatically go by, well, what machine do you want, or this is the machine I think you should use without asking any questions, because it's a good possibility that may be a one-time sale and that customer's not returning.
I will admit, though, a couple of years ago, when we had to shop in Tennessee, they'd come in and they'd say, we want a metal detector. Well, what are you looking for? Well, I want the machine that those two guys use on TV.
Right. very popular machine, and still one of the most popular.
All they wanted was that machine that KG and Ringy used, period. That was it.
Right? Yeah, I know. I've talked to a number of dealers where they're like, I can drop ship you one as soon as supplies become available because I can't keep them on the shelf. Yeah. They were a very popular machine and still are for many people. I know of a few people in particular that they've migrated to other machines, but they know the AT Pros so well, or the AT series period, that they keep coming back around to it because that's what they know and it works for them.
Well, the thing that's nice about the AT Pro is there's probably 30 or 40 different search coils available for it. So, you know, Garrett's smart. I mean, Garrett does not hold their coils to be proprietary because they realize the more coils, the more versatile the machine is, the more machines they sell.
Exactly.
MineLab, that's the one complaint people have about MineLab, and that is if you've got an Equinox, there's 2 coils you can buy, period. That's it. And they both come from MineLab. You know, if they would open that market up and let other people, DTEC or Mars or, you know, some of the other third parties make coils for them, that's what they do. They make coils. Let them make the coil for you and you'd sell more machines.
Absolutely. And you're right. It seems to be that MineLab is the only company that we really see that issue with. I mean, we've seen multiple coils for Garrett's. We've seen them for, in the past, White's, other companies, but MineLab, it's a little tough. I mean, when it comes to, say, variety or choice of coils, you're very limited. And that's another nice thing that we've seen with Nokta Makro. I mean, even if there's not a third party out there, they're putting out multiple accessory coils. We saw it with the Amphibio. The Simplex has now got accessory coils out, which I guess, with your time with the Simplex, have you had much opportunity to use any of the accessory coils? And if so, what do you prefer? Do you still prefer to stick with the stock coil?
The only time I personally switch from the stock coil is if I'm in the woods relic hunting. And I've got, again, now that it's cooler, we don't have snow up like you do up north, but we do have 5 different types of snakes that'll kill you. So I tend not to go in the woods in the summertime.
Right. Yeah. Let it cool down a little bit.
But my wife uses the only coil she uses is that elliptical SP28. So that's the 24 coil. That's the only coil that she uses.
Nice. I've basically stuck with the stock coil because many times the stock coil is a good all around coil unless you get into a more specific sort of area or type of hunting that you'd like to do. We've got a caller on with us. How is it going, Chuck?
It's going well. Hi, Andy.
Oh, Mr. Chuck. Now I'm in trouble.
Yes, you're in trouble. You're always in trouble. I'll tell on you. I'll tell Charlene.
Uh-oh. How you doing, Chuck?
Yeah, I'll be good. On the coil thing, I've had several guys on the Simplex want the 9 by 5.5, and the reason they're getting into those is fields, and they work good amongst the rows and that kind of stuff.
Well, I'll tell you, one thing that you might want to keep in mind, Chuck, is one thing we've seen even with Charlene's machine is most of the areas around here, I'm either running at 5 or 6 bars on the sensitivity. I can't go to 7. 7, it becomes erratic and unstable. So that's that 7th bar that they added. When she's using that SV24 coil, the elliptical coil you're talking about, she can run that thing at 7 and it's dead silent the whole time in the woods.
Nice.
So I'll let Rod and the boys, there's several of them, and order them just this past week just for that purpose. And I hadn't used it much. I've just used the stock. And they were quizzing me on some things. I said, fellas, I have not used that coil. I've sold some. People are having some pretty good luck with it. So I'll talk to them a little bit about it and let them know what you said.
Yeah, give Charlene a call. That's all she uses, that elliptical coil. She hasn't gone back. I don't even know if she knows where the stock coil is anymore. But, yeah, that elliptical coil, she's doing really well with it. I'm to the point that I almost hate to go out with
her. I can imagine. She's kicking your backside a little bit, huh?
Well, we've got some property right near the Vicksburg battlefield, and I was doing some work on a property. I went back to see how she was doing, and I said, "Did you find anything?" She pulls out 14 mini balls out of her pouch. I'm like, "All right, well, I'll go back to trimming bushes."
Right, yeah, you're killing me.
Darlene. That girl. Keep him in line. We got to. And I actually have had several people ask when you may come back up in the area and we can do another class up here. And I told them, I said, you know what, with what's going on, and I fully see if things don't get better, when changes occur here in January, that they're going to be requested a countrywide lockdown.
Yeah, may not be any boot camps for a bit.
Well, 2020, all of our boot camps we've had to cancel. We even had one that we were trying to hold next week, but down in Florida, it turned out that even the hotels would only allow 6 people in a room at a time. So, unfortunately, our trips overseas this year got canceled, and the boot camps all got canceled. So we're hoping that 2021 kind of turns a corner on that.
Let's hope so. They get this stuff going. So anyway, that's why I called in when you were talking about the coils on that. I had not used that. I had not had time to use that yet. And guys were asking, and they said, what do you think about using them in between the corn rows? I said, well, they'll fit, and they'll swing well, and you'll be able to work with them better. But as far as setup on that particular coil, that I will talk to Rod tomorrow. He just picked them up. They several of them that bought those, and they're actually doing pretty well in the fields, bean stubble, which is easier to work. They've got some cornfields they're wanting to work, and, of course, you're hanging up on the stalks and this kind of stuff. So they thought that would be a better coil to be using amongst that.
Well, even the round coil works well. I mean, I've used that in the test area, and to be honest with you, even coins down at 7 inches on the test area, the 8-inch coil will hit them. So you're able to run both of those smaller coils. You can run it at 7 bars on the sensitivity, and it's completely stable.
Okay.
Nice.
Sounds good, buddy.
Well,
good.
And hopefully the Simplex books are still doing well out there for you, Chuck. I mean, that's for someone that buys a Simplex.
Some of the guys have come back, and I said, look, get the book.
Right.
I said, get Andy's book, and I've been moving them, and more Simplex machines. They're very popular. And these are guys that have been running 3030s. They're buying them, lightweight. They're buying them because of the price point, and others have gotten them, and they're figuring them out, and they're doing well with them. And they're an awesome machine. Listen, and we're winning. I mean, we've talked about this I don't know how many times, and Andy will back it up with this technology. I was listening to you a little bit there. I've had IT problems out here today, bad, and I think it's because east of us is getting hammered so bad that things are screwed up. And but I finally got it up on the mainframe here, and it's staying for a minute, but. They're an awesome machine for the price point.
Absolutely. And to have the book with it, that's money well spent for an accessory to go with the machine. It's not a bank breaker.
Yes, it is.
And for people who don't have the book yet, nice stocking stuffer, late Christmas gift, whatever the case may be. Because, I mean, I've been looking through the Simplex book. It's, once again, not disappointed. Everything I expected. A lot of great information, photos, and settings in there.
Yep. And Andy, had you had plans to go down to the Florida hunt?
We're looking at it. Again, right now, actually, I'm leaving tomorrow to drive down to Florida to see my father. Like I said, he's 96, and I'd like to get a chance to spend a little time with him down there. So we're going to head down there tomorrow and come back on the 23rd. But still looking to try to get down to the hunt.
Yeah,
we'll see if the hunt goes off.
I'm hoping that everything's still a go after things change, and I'll be down at Florida Hunt 7, and then talking with Debbie, she hadn't quite committed to it totally, but we got some things that we're lining up to do down there. If we get a chance, we're going to do a little work together on some stuff. So yeah, I'm hoping it all comes off. Hope to get to see everybody. I know Michael will be there, and Mark Hoover, and I don't know who all else on here is signed up. And I'm coming to hunt. I'm going detecting. I'm not setting up a big booth or nothing, and we're going out and see what we can come up with and have some fun.
There you go.
Michael's first sausage bread. I've heard nothing but good stuff, and I heard Frank's going to be there. It's going to be a blast, he says. I agree. So looking forward to that. Maybe we can get some time in together, Andy, if you make it.
Yeah, I'd like to do that.
Now let's, because I figure we'll try to get Andy out of here around 9 o'clock, hopefully, because he's a busy guy. Let's shift gears a little bit, especially since we've got you on with us, Chuck. Andy had said that, obviously with the situation this year, they had to cancel their overseas hunts. Is that a complete refund, or did you just move them back to 2021?
The people that we had set up to go with us, we gave them an option. Do you want a full refund? Some of the people wanted a full refund. Others decided to roll it over. We had 2 or 3 people on an England trip that decided to go with us on a Scotland trip. Others with the Scotland trip just simply moved it over to 2021. So, I don't hold anybody's money hostage. If they want to switch, that's fine. We'll go ahead and support it. But we're going forward with 2021 for Scotland, and England is booked up. I mean, we go to a different part. We go over to Norfolk in England. But Scotland, we still have some openings over there, and the nice thing about that is it's actually about $1,000 less than England. So I mean, if you ever think of doing a bucket lister trip, that's it's worth going. I mean, we get different types of finds there, but you'll get stuff going back to the Bronze Age. Last trip, we had one of our guys found not 1 but 2 pieces of bronze, from the Bronze Age.
Wow. Now, Chuck, he's hunted over there in England a few times now, and
yes.
I know you've done the England tours, I think, or maybe it was the Scotland tours for a while, and just recently picked up the other within the last few years, I guess. But you actually offer tours for both Scotland or England. What can somebody expect, kind of, what would a tour consist of for Scotland?
Well, I mean, Scotland, the way it works is it's 9 days, 7.5 plus days of hunting. Once you get to Edinburgh, you need to figure out airfare from your home to Edinburgh and then back. You get picked up in Edinburgh, you get brought to the hotel. We don't do group accommodations, so it's everybody gets their own hotel room. It's a 4-star hotel. It's got a hot buffet breakfast. Lunch is provided, snacks, drinks, and things in the field, transportation each day. Toddy, the guy that we use over there, knows history like the back of his hand. So it's really interesting where he'll take you to the site. You may stop on the way and he'll show you where William Wallace's troops were, where this happened, where that event happened. Knows the history of the site you went to, can tell you where to go. And, he's kind of scouted the areas before. They're not pounded. They're not worked to death. So you're pretty much assured of making some pretty good finds. Dinner, you're on your own, but there's a restaurant in the hotel. I think that, we spent about $10 or $15 for dinner. There's a bunch of restaurants right near the hotel. You can go out and get that. So really the only expenses you have when you're over there would be souvenirs and dinners. Everything else is included. So your digging tools, transportation, lunches, breakfast, everything else is included. And like I said, the hotels are nice because you get home, you take a hot shower. They got air conditioning. You can watch a little TV, and then you go down and have dinner or meet up with everybody to see what you found for the day.
Now,
Andy, what time of year do you prefer to do Scotland?
Well, it's a little bit different than England in terms of the crops and things they have. So next year, what we're looking at is February, late February, March, and then in the fall would be September.
Okay.
And
okay. And
we
Mark
kind of
Hoover, you need to talk to Charlene, and they've got it set up. And I'm considering this to go to Scotland with them because they're in an area where the wives, if they don't detect, there's things to do beyond detecting.
They
some
can
of the
go
other
shopping.
areas there isn't.
Yeah, I mean, Falkirk is where we use as a jumping off point. The hotels in Falkirk and the train station is literally a 2-minute walk. And you're 20 minutes from Edinburgh and you're an hour from Glasgow. And if you really want to be adventurous, you can take the train all the way down to England and go to London, spend the day, maybe spend the night in London and come home. So the train system, mass transit over there is definitely a lot better than it is here in the States. So if you're interested, if you've got a wife or a non-hunting partner, just join us and, we'll make sure that we've got all the logistics set up for you. So if you want to do some sightseeing, there's plenty of opportunities to do that.
Nice. And I assume that that's the same way as it is with England as far as documenting, reporting, exporting finds?
It is and it isn't. So here's the difference. You would think United Kingdom is United Kingdom. In England, the reason a lot of people get permission to hunt property is because the property owner gets half of whatever you find.
Right.
It's not the case in Scotland.
Okay.
So unless there's something written or you've got an agreement, you keep everything you find. Now, here's where that becomes a problem. I don't know how many of you have heard about the Galloway Hoard. So the Galloway Hoard was found in Scotland, and it's the largest collection of Viking artifacts ever found in Scotland. Right. So the Galloway Hoard was found on church property, and that hoard was worth over £2 million. So how much do you think the church got?
I'm guessing not much.
Well, the church got nothing, so they're taking the finders to court. So, that kind of put a damper on a lot of properties that didn't care if you hunted or not because they figured you do the right thing and give them half. Toddy, the way he works, is the sites that we have permission to. If you find a hoard, the property owner gets half. I mean, that's the agreement that he's made. That's the agreement when people go on our trips, they agree to adhere to. Other things such as, a hoard, a small hoard, gold coins, things of historic nature, they do get turned into the museum. So Toddy takes them, he documents them, he submits them to the museum, and then whatever the museum doesn't want, he gets back and then he forwards them back to us. So he takes care of that for us. So there are similar export restrictions, but again, if they've been released from the museums and they don't want to buy them and put them on display and give you credit, then you get them back. Now, this year it's taken us longer than normal just because the museums have been closed because of COVID.
Right, exactly. That's what I was going to ask I know we've heard before, say, England, sometimes it could take 6 months or more to get any of those items back.
Now, Toddy works with the museums, and he knows what they're looking for, or what they typically will not want. And he may take it, and then 3 days later he'll give it back to you and say he's talked to the museum, and they've got, it's a hammered coin from the 1500s. They've got 10,000 of them they don't need anymore. So, so he's got the contacts that he knows what they want and what they don't, and he'll record that and get it back to you. But again, you just need to follow the rules. I mean, you give it to him at the end of the day if it's something that's valuable. Charlene, the first day we were there, the second target she got was a rare 1600 or 15th century Scottish silver hammered coin. And
wow.
He said, unfortunately the museum wants it. So, that's the chance you take, so right. She did really great, but it's, but at least she gets credit for it over there.
Absolutely. And have you noticed with the different machines that have been released over, say, the past few years, do you notice certain machines working better than others, either in Scotland or England on the tours?
Well, I mean, first of all, if you're packing your machines and bringing them over there, I mean, a CTX is a great machine, but to be honest with you, a CTX
hard to
is
travel
tough
with.
to travel with.
Yeah.
The machines of choice. I mean, Chuck, you can back me up on this, but 95% of the people are using either an Equinox or a Deus.
Yes, they are.
Right.
And,
you're going out. You're not going out for an hour's hunt or 2 hours. You're going out for a whole day.
You're going out for lunch. But you're going out for a whole day regardless of the weather, too. That's the other thing.
Good point. Yes,
and
you are.
That makes it a lot easier on you. You want a waterproof machine or a machine that can withstand the moisture of England and Scotland. It's every day. And serious. And if you get a day that doesn't rain on you, count your blessings.
Right.
Last time we were in England, we were out one day and it was raining so hard. If you remember that scene from Caddyshack where Bill Murray's going, I don't think the heavy stuff's going to come down for quite some time. That was us. I mean, we were literally walking backwards across this field. The wind was blowing, the rain was coming horizontally, and we're trying to stand up hunting across this field, and people must have driven by thinking we're nuts.
That makes for some tough hunting. That's a rough day.
And it's the same way, Josh, going up into Alaska, where we go up out of Nome area, and you're on the Bering Sea. 1 minute it can be 70, and I've actually seen the temperature change within an hour in the 70s, and we were getting sleet and snow an hour and 15 minutes later.
Oh yeah, sounds just like Ohio.
Yep, there you go.
Weather stick around, it'll change.
Right.
That's right.
Yeah, I mean, Andy knows. He's been up there in Michigan.
Last time I was there 100%. And I didn't switch to anything else, and I had a blast with it. It did me well. And the Deus loves those small cut quarters of the hammered coins and that, and they do well with them. They love hammered coins. So those are the two choices that I've seen over there, Andy, and one or two were using 30-30s.
Yeah, but I tell you, Pat, like you said, packing them. When we went over there last time, we had 2 Deuses and 2 Equinoxes with extra coils. And, I put the shafts in the checked luggage, and I put the machines, all the electronics in my carry-on bag. And we try to tell people, make sure you do that. And, of course, one of the couples we had on our Scotland trip, their Deus went for a 3-day tour of Scotland.
No.
Thankful, so I gave them a machine. Luckily I had extra machines. I let them use mine. But again, be careful. I mean, luggage, it'll get there eventually, but every day you lose. I mean, you've got 9 days there and that's it. You're going home.
Right. And you want to maximize as much of that time as you can.
Yep.
Now, I've talked to some other people that have traveled abroad with their machines, the Deus in particular. Have you noticed any issues traveling with it? Because some people say, oh, well, you've got to put a piece of black tape over that flashing light on the coil, and you need to do this, and you need to do that. And other people are just like, no, I don't do any of that. I mean, I pack it all in a backpack and get on the plane.
That's, we get on the plane, customs people or the security people look at it because we carry it on, and they look at it and, oh, what kind of stuff are you finding? They know what they are. I mean, the security guys, they know what these metal detectors are, and some of them, hey, I've got a Garrett, how does that compare? So they know what it is. And coming home, same thing. When they see the metal detectors in your luggage in Heathrow, they know what they are.
Nice.
Yes,
nice.
They do.
Hey, you never know. You may wind up talking somebody into a different machine at those checkpoints. Well,
I went through up in Nome the one year, and Nome's a small town, and gold mining and prospecting, and the word got out. I had a 3-ouncer I'd found, a 1 ounce, and so on. And the guys at TSA, one of them pulled me aside. You think I'd have found that gold? Well, yeah, you just looked at it. He said, what machine are you using? We got out, we talked, and he bought an SDC from me. So it does happen.
Well, on the flip side, I was in Jamaica probably 10 years ago. We got landed and they're looking at our luggage and they open our stuff and the guy says, "What is this? Is this a metal detector?" And he says, "How does, what is it? Let me see what it looks like." I put it together and the guy literally took it, he put it down behind his desk. He says, "I always wanted one of these." What?
Ooh.
And I had to find a supervisor to get my damn metal detector back. This guy was ready to, "I always wanted one of these things. I'll just take yours." So,
wow.
Sometimes those, not first world, third world countries, you might lose it they know what it is. They just don't want to pay for it.
But you did get it back then.
Yeah. 2 hours later, I finally got it back. Yeah. That was a great way to start my trip.
Yeah, that's not a good way to start.
Oh man, I would have been.
Yeah, I'll bet he was all fired up. I mean, them things ain't cheap. You can't just go giving them away.
Oh. And then you get there and wow, that'd be scary because they don't care. You're right, Andy. Third world country. They're in their country. They can pretty much set some rules on you that you never heard of.
Yeah, we'll do what we want. You just sit back and deal with it.
Well, that trip went from bad to worse. We get back to the hotel. 2 days later, I go to the beach across the street and stepped on a broken beer bottle in the sand in the water. Had to get 6 stitches in my foot, put an end to my water running. So I'm like, well, I should have just stayed back home at this point.
Yeah, ouch. When I'm in the water hunting, that's why I make sure to wear dive boots. I mean,
it went right through my dive boots. I had dive boots that went right through a hard sole dive boot.
Wow.
Oh wow.
Because you never know. People are careless. They'll throw anything in the water, and you really got to watch it. Because, well, I guess, to some extent, the water's clear enough you can see what's going on, but the sand could still be covering it, and you would be blissfully ignorant to the fact until, like you said, you step on it, and, well, at that point, the damage is done. It's too late. Not a way for a trip to go.
No, but like I said, the trips to Scotland, the thing I like about them is the English people are great. Scottish people are great. The last night we do a big, dinner at the local restaurant there. We get the whole floor upstairs and everybody puts their finds out on the tables. So, you think you do well each day. And then at the end of the trip, when you start laying all this out, you realize, wow, we really dug quite a lot of stuff here, especially, when you've got 12 people with you.
Yeah, and especially when you can that's a nice touch, being able to go through and see not only everything that you've found, but everything that everyone else has found as well.
Yeah.
Of course, I'm sure when those rare or once-in-a-lifetime finds kind of surface, everybody knows about it pretty much as it happens.
Yeah, we had one guy from Florida. He's been metal detecting for years, but only on the beach. So that was his first time non-beach hunting. So we're out in this field in the middle of nowhere. He finds a contemporary, probably 1950s diamond engagement ring in the middle of this field. And then the next day, he comes over to radio, and apparently he found a gold pocket watch chain from the 1800s. So he's finding jewelry in these fields that, we're like, what the hell? We're looking for, hammered coins, and he's digging gold rings.
Right. That just ain't right.
Well, the guy Toddy that actually, he's our Scottish contact. I mean, he can look at a coin and, Chuck, you probably know in England, these guys look at these coins and can tell you what emperor it is. So he comes over to, one of the guys that we were with says, "Hey, I found a really unusual coin. I don't know what it is." So Toddy comes over to look at it. He comes over to the radio. He goes, "I've never seen one like this before." He said, "It's a small coin, a small silver coin. It's got a C with a Roman numeral 3 in the middle." I'm like, "What?" So I go running across the field to look at it. It was a U.S. trime, an 18th trime.
Yeah, I was going to say, I recognize what you're describing.
Yeah. He finds this in a field in Scotland. What the hell was that doing there?
How does it get there? Wow.
Well, the week before I went last year, they had a guy out in the middle of the field, and it didn't surprise me they found it. He gets on the radio and says, "I got a mercury dime."
Mercury dime. Hey, Chuck, we were hunting near a Saxon church down, last time in England, and I've got 6 coppers, 6 large coppers. I got another signal. I'm like, here's another one. And I dug down a good 8 or 9 inches, and I see a silver coin sticking out of the edge. So I pull it free. I'm looking at it. I'm going, wait a minute. It was a 2009 U.S. state quarter. Somebody must have thrown it there. But this local guy is walking his dog, and he stops and he says, "Did you find anything?" And I was kind of showing him, and I said, "Look at this." He was more excited, more interested about that 2009 U.S. quarter than his 1700 copper.
Wow.
Oh, that's cool. I mean, you and I go, there's a fresh drop. I got to move on.
Right, yeah, stories like that. We'll have to get Andy back on again and just talk about hunting in general.
Yes, that's cool, Andy. And then, in a sense, you and I go, rats, and they're all excited about, how did this get here? Look at that. And probably somebody else has been hunting in the field. Got the quarter.
Well, I've got a friend of mine, Irvin, out of Canada, that was with us on the England trip. And the last day, 20 minutes before we're ready to quit, we're in this field, and all of a sudden he comes over to radio and he says, "Hey, did they make gold coins in the 1800s?" I'm like, "Yeah, why?" Next thing you know, you see him
What a question.
with his hands clasped together, and he comes running across the field past everybody else. They're going, "What'd you find?" And he was just beelining it straight to me, and he opens his hand. He's got this beautiful half sovereign, 1850s half sovereign. Looked like, I don't know how the plow didn't hit it, but it was in mint condition.
Nice. That is awesome.
And the real kicker is where he found it. You could see footprints where people had walked all around it and missed it. But again, he's got a 500-acre field. All you got to do is miss it by an inch. You might as well be in a different field.
Well, that's true, and unfortunately, you've got some people out there that they put too much faith in the VDIs or what the screen is telling them, and especially when you're over there for what could be a once-in-a-lifetime experience for that person to be out hunting in England or Scotland, you don't want to be skipping over too many signals.
If it's not iron, you better dig it. If it's not iron, just dig it.
Right.
Yeah. Dig it all, because their silver rings up differently. Gold rings up. I don't know, Andy, if you've experienced it, but on the Knox, I got that 1803 over there. I've gotten some a nice gold cross with it. I got a gold locket the other day that's 18 karat, and it'll bounce like a 13. It might go down to 9, but it's got a sound that it runs up nicely and cuts off. It's different than many other sounds. And that locket the other day, I'd heard it a couple times, and I knew immediately I was digging gold. And sure enough, that beautiful locket rolled up. And the Knox likes gold. It really
yes, it does.
Now, I'm going to use her up in Alaska a little bit and see how it does. But there's a certain sound of that gold on that Equinox I can pick up.
Well, I mean, and that's the thing. Like you said, over there, silver coins over there are low purity and they're paper thin. So if you're looking for a signal like a silver quarter, you're not going to find silver coins.
No. No, because generally over there they're going to ring up lower than what you would expect.
Yep.
I found a silver Roman last year, and I took it in, and Steve Meitner was looking, and he just said, yeah, he pitched it back. Then he got to looking at it later, and he said, hey, mate, you got a real good coin there. But it was the clunkiest sound because the Roman silver, it rings up almost a lead range, and it sounds funny.
Well, again, Charlene found a really nice Roman. I mean, again, 2nd century, looks like it was minted and lost. And one of the few targets she got that one day, she's walking back to the van and gets a signal. And before she started to dig, she looked down and it was partially sticking out of the side of out of the furrow. Because
wow.
So
you just never know.
Yeah.
No.
And apparently, just like in England, it's in layers over there, especially with that guy finding that wedding ring and then that gold watch chain.
Well, with the last day we were in Scotland, we hit a spot. It was a dump site that was in use up until the Victorian age, and we found everything from jewelry to coins. One of the guys that's a lawyer out of Texas was with us, and he found a seal, a sterling silver seal, for wax on the back of letters.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Really nice wax seal. And here's the funny thing. So everybody had looked at it, and they were oohing and ahhing, and we get in the van, we're getting ready to leave, and I said, hey, Jim, can I see that? I hadn't seen it, so can I see that wax seal? And he reaches in his pocket, and it wasn't there. And he says, hang on. And it turned out when we were out taking a group picture, he lost it. And one of the other guys that was from Scotland that was there, that met us there, happened to look down and saw it in the tall grass. I mean, to this day, Jim says, thank God you asked to look at that thing, because he thought I was kidding him. He thought I had it. I'm like, I don't have it. I haven't seen it. And luckily we were able to find it. But, you never know what you're going to find. It's this farm field that had potatoes in it, and it had everything from, 14th century to 17th century, just under the surface.
But it just goes to show, I guess, they may want to, you want to keep a tight grip on your finds. Use them finds boxes or something to keep them in when you're out in the field. Man, that'd be a heart stopper, Yeah, sure, I'll show it to you. Wait a minute, where did it go? I'd be absolutely sick. Oh man, that guy had to been sweating it.
Yeah.
Wow, and
Andy's spot on. You can be half a foot away from something, miss it, because Dave, that was with us on the trip there the last time, found, I'm going to say, about 9 inches of a torque.
The torque.
Yeah. And there were footprints all around that area, and that torque was partially exposed. And nobody picked it up, but he did.
Well, that was definitely one to be proud of, for sure. And one of the most memorable photos I've seen in a while from you, Chuck.
I know what you're talking about.
Yep, that was pretty good.
Like thing to do.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you're presented with an opportunity, why not?
I mean, I'm sure the Celt that lost that, because the Romans paid the Celts with torques for passage through there, the Celtic tribes, and that was one of the things they said they did. I figured that Celt spirit was up there stirring my drink with me, enjoying it.
There you go, definitely. So, any other plans for events next year then, Andy? Because, I mean, obviously this year, a lot of the I&I hunt, for example, we were all on board to be there, and then it got pushed back to next year. So there were a lot of events that I'm sure you had planned on that you couldn't make this year. Are you really starting to fill the calendar for events next year?
Well, we are, but again, I think a lot of it's going to depend on what happens here with the vaccine. It's going to happen when when the new president's sworn in. I mean, right. I'd love to make plans, and we've got tentative plans. I mean, for example, Digfest that James Bibb is putting on in Virginia, 4,000 acres, great event over the weekend, very reasonably priced. We're going to be doing some training if it's held.
Right, if it comes to pass.
Boot camps. We've got several people. A lot of people have asked for boot camps, so we'd like to start them back up and conduct some training. But, I need to make sure the hotels will have space for it and that people are willing to travel. If you can only have 4 to 6 people in a training class, it's tough to justify, a 1,000-mile round trip, if you can't get people to attend.
Absolutely.
Same thing with trips over to Scotland. I mean, we've got some openings, but people are interested, but they're waiting to see what happens. So
right.
I'm hoping that, if anyone's interested in a September trip next year to Scotland, it's a great opportunity. We do have some openings. It's limited to 10. There'll be 12 people on the trip, my wife and I and 10 others. So we don't want to have more than 10 because it just makes the transportation unwieldy. So it'll be for a good group. So keep that in mind. If anybody is interested, treasurehuntingoutfitters.com has got information on it. They can get in touch with me if they want to know about the trips. But trips overseas, hunts, and boot camps, but it all depends on what happens here in the next few months.
That makes sense.
I isn't even talking about the hunt yet this year, simply because of the unknown of it all.
Right, yeah, everything's still kind of up in the air, and rightfully so. People are concerned about traveling, and being like the other night, Delec had said she would love to go to the Florida hunt, and it's not necessarily Florida that concerns her. It's being cooped up for 11 hours in the plane to get here.
Yep.
Well, so Charlene just flew up to Pennsylvania to see family over Thanksgiving out of work, and she said it's tough that you got to wear a mask from the time you get to the airport to getting a connection to flying on the plane, and then you see people at the airport not wearing a mask. So you feel like slapping them, saying, "Look, at least when you're in close proximity, wear a mask. At least do something. Don't just say you can't tell me to wear a mask." It's like the people that don't want to wear a seatbelt in the car.
Right, and I agree and understand completely. It's very frustrating because at that point you just want to look at them and say, "Look, you're not a part of the solution. You're a part of the problem."
Right.
But what do you do?
It's serious, folks, because it's hitting close to home all the time here. I just had a friend pass from it here a week ago. We were able to have services outdoors, and they were moving him. He was getting better, and then bam, he dropped. And
same with that friend of ours.
It's tough on you.
Yeah, it is. It's unfortunate circumstances, definitely. Do you have any final things to add or ask Andy, Chuck? Because now we're up to 9:15.
I'm going to back out of here, but I'm watching Barb. She's trying to pry a trip out of Charlene there. Be careful with that, Charlene. Got to watch out for Barb.
Yeah. If she books for Scotland,
pirate loose in Scotland may be dicey.
Yeah, if she books for Scotland or England, better keep a tight eye on her.
And Andy, it's great talking with you, my good friend. We need to get out together. Maybe we'll see each other down in Florida. I hope that comes to pass. And I hope we can have another boot camp up here. I've actually got people asking for it, but it's a broad scope. I've got some with Equinoxes and some with the Simplexes, so it'd be a mixed group, I think.
Well, I think we've got an agenda set up for a boot camp on the Equinox, so that'll be the one of the ones we'll offer. So
nice, especially with the recent updates on it.
Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah. Definitely. Well, I have got to say it has been an absolute pleasure and some very interesting stories that none of us have had the opportunity to hear over here before. So definitely very cool, and want to thank you for taking the time to be on with us tonight, and wish you and Charlene and the rest of the family a wonderful holiday season and Happy New Year and all of that. And hopefully everybody stays safe.
Well, same to you, and hopefully you can get out and do some hunting. Chuck, I don't know, what's the weather like out there? You getting white stuff yet?
Oh, we've got a little splotch here and there left. We've had a couple small snowfalls and rain, But unfortunately, the temperature's been dropping pretty hard at night into the teens, so it may be starting to put about a 2-inch layer of frost out, but I'm still going to hit a field that's supposed to go back up near 50 one day this week, and then getting toward Christmas, now we're talking single digits at night. So we'll be freezing up, and I know you'll be able to get out when you get a chance down there.
Right.
Well, I'll tell you, I was looking forward to getting out and doing some water hunting. So there's a big, it's called the Reservoir north of Jackson, and it's 60,000. Nice. I mean, it's huge. There's a lot of beaches on it. So I went up there about 2-3 months ago. I said, let me go up there and scout it out Saturday morning just to see what it's like. So I get up there, and there's a beach, and there's a long dock along the shore that boats can pull up and go to the beach. So I'm standing on the dock, and I'm looking around, and, I'm looking at the cove, I'm looking at the beach, and as I walk up, there's a ranger there, and I asked him, I said, hey, is it okay to metal detect here? And his answer was, yeah, no problem. As long as there's, not a crowd in there, you're more than welcome to. And then he added, and the alligators don't bother you? I'm like, wait a minute. Whoa. What about alligators? And he's telling me this story. Now, when he tells me the story, I'm sitting there going, all right, yeah, the guy's pulling my leg. He said yesterday evening, somebody was in the beach and a 5-foot alligator was underneath that dock you were just standing on, and it swam by and it got tangled up in his legs and scratched him up, and they had to catch it and euthanize it because it lost its fear of humans because people are stupid enough to feed these things. So I thought he was kidding. So I told Charlene, in the meantime, she's got her phone out and she's doing a quick Google search, and it turns out it was on the local news. And he was right, that there was a 5-foot alligator hiding underneath that dock that came out and got caught up with a swimmer. I'm like, all right, I'm not going in there.
Right, then, suddenly not so interested to get in the water.
Well, 2 weeks later, Mississippi's alligator season was open. And there was a story in the paper about a guy that saw an alligator and they caught it with a treble hook. And it said it dragged his boat around for 4 hours till they were finally able to beat it. It was 12 foot, 9 inches long and weighed almost 1,000 pounds. I'm like, that's it. That's it. I'm not water hunting. I haven't been in the water yet.
Wow.
Well, you're rethinking the position on the water hunting in the reservoir. That sounds like a definite, I don't think so.
I'd say that's a wise choice.
I mean, people actually feed them. I mean, that's the problem. Once people feed them and they lose their fear of people, they have to euthanize it, take it, and shoot it.
Then they become a danger.
Why would you throw your chicken sandwich at an alligator?
Well, I guess that's better than him taking a bite out of me.
I don't know. But I'll tell you what. The only way I like alligator is fried or blackened.
Well, I'll tell you, if I hooked onto something that was dragging my boat around for 4 hours, it could have the hook, the rope, and I'd be out of there. I wouldn't want to see the other end of the rope.
Right, that's when you just cut the rope and say, you know what, I think I'm done for the day.
There you go. So,
wow.
Anyway.
All right, Chuck, I'll let you roll, but Josh, again, it's always great talking to you.
Josh, thank you. Charlene, stay out of trouble. And yes, the Black Ada shovels are great, Charlene. Irvin, check them out.
That's right.
I've got them up there. They do a good job. But talk to Charlene about them. So
they're carrying them over on the website, too.
And Chuck, if you got any questions on the Simplex or the coils, give Charlene a call. She's got a lot of experience with it.
Okay, I will.
Nice.
I will, and we'll get together and you and I'll wander off and we'll go have some fun out in the fields.
All right, man.
Without the alligators.
Without alligators. All you got to worry about out there is getting back. We'll talk to you later.
Right. Yeah, it sounds like you're gonna have to do a little bit of research on some of those bodies of water. Don't want to be playing with too many of them alligators.
Well, I tell you, the funny thing they said in Florida in the 1970s, they were on the endangered species list, and now they're pests. Now they're nuisances.
Right? Yeah, so, they don't sound too endangered to me at this point.
No, I mean my father. He's he's in a 55 and over community there, and they've got a little lake, and they've got an 8-footer that's in there. So,
wow. And then people wonder, like these tourists that go down to Florida, and they want to go walking along the waterway with their little, miniature dog, and wonder why gators come up out of the water and suddenly they lose their dog.
Well, I'll tell you, I love my dogs, but I know these people. There was that one lady in South Carolina where it did that, and then she went in after it and then didn't make it. The dog got out, but she didn't. And if you get an 8-foot or 10-foot alligator grabbing a hold of the dog, I mean, I love the dog, but I'm not quite sure I'm jumping in the water after it.
Right, yeah. I mean, at that point, it's like, well, I love the dog, but I can get another dog.
We
Wow.
did a lot of diving down in Charleston, and the rivers there, in the summertime, there's alligators in the rivers. And the dive master I was with, he said, look, what they do is they drop you off, and then they'll go downstream, and then you simply float in the current and come up to the boat. And he said, if you come up, and if you see an alligator swimming on the surface, go back under. He says, they won't bite you if you're underwater. I'm like, look, I'm not an expert, but somehow I got a funny feeling the alligators eat underwater. I'm not sure me going under is going to keep me from getting bitten by an alligator. So I think I'll dive this when they're hibernating in the winter.
I would have to tend to agree. I don't want to be the one to test that theory.
Yeah. So I asked him, last time I checked, I didn't see him at the drive-thru picking up Popeye's fried chicken. I think they eat the water.
Right, yeah, definitely. Man, we're definitely going to have to get you back on to hear some more of these hunting stories, because these are definitely some interesting ones. I mean, I'm glad I'm hearing it from you and not having to experience it for myself. I'll leave that to someone else and live vicariously through them.
That's a good idea.
Yes, definitely. But it has been just definitely a pleasure. It's been far too long since we've had you on the show from the last time. So definitely good to see you back on and hear that all is going well and you and Charlene are just having a blast and tearing things up the way it sounds.
Yeah, we're enjoying life. I mean, 2020 could be enjoying it a whole lot better, but I think we and everybody out there is hoping that 2021, when the ball comes down, 2021 turns out to be a better year than 2020 was. It's been one for the record books.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'll be happy if we can just make it out alive. Pretty much. Well, hang in there with me for a minute, Andy, and we'll get on out of here. For everyone else, definitely check out the handbooks that Andy does. Very well written, very well put together, and his most recent is obviously the one for the Simplex. I have been dropping the link for Treasure Hunting Outfitters through the chat throughout the duration of the show. It's in the description tonight as well. Other than that, we got to roll. Everyone else, if you enjoyed the show, drop us a like. You can follow us. We're everywhere. We'll see you on the next one.